period.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the meeting of July 16, 2026. Thank you all today for attending the Planning Commission meeting. The commission is convening today to discuss several matters. The commission is required to review these items. Our vote will advise the mayor and city council prior to the actions that they take ultimately. The bills on our agenda will be reviewed at various council committees and city council itself, where the meetings will be held publicly and open to comment. I ask today that you please be respectful of the process and the individuals that are participating in today's meeting. We appreciate the dedication and the enthusiasm that everyone is giving to this process. Please also be aware that while anyone can speak about an agenda item, staff and commissioners might not respond to every question or comment. And during public comment, please only speak to the agenda items that are being reviewed here today. Please do not restate comments or questions that other members of the public have already commented on. The commission may also request that comments from the public be limited in time so that everyone may have a chance to participate today. And finally, I want to take the time to thank the staff for putting these meetings together. A lot goes into it. I will now call this meeting to order and hand it back over to staff to start today's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and good afternoon, everyone. David Fecto with the legislative team here at the City Planning Commission with an important safety announcement. Your safety is our priority. You are currently in room 18029. If there's an emergency, please listen to announcements on the loudspeaker, which will provide safety information. If you do not hear the announcements, please follow the directions of security officers and city planning staff. There are two doors along the side wall to your left, my right. Those doors lead to the elevator lobby. If an order is given to evacuate this room, the nearest stairway is to your right once you reach the lobby. Follow the exit signs to reach the stairway. If an order is given to evacuate the building, the rally point is Love Park. We ask that you please remain at the rally point so that we can account for you. Restrooms are in the lobby across from the elevators. And now I will turn the meeting over to Michael Gall for some instructions on how today's meeting will be conducted.
Welcome to the July 16th, 2026 Philadelphia City Planning Commission meeting. I'm Michael Gall with the Planning Commission staff, here to review some brief housekeeping procedures for today's meeting. During the meeting, each agenda item will be presented by a member of the Planning Commission staff. Following each presentation, the chair will ask the commissioners for questions or comments. The chair will then ask the audience for questions and comments. After that, the commissioners will finish their discussion and vote. If you would like to speak during an agenda item's public comment period, click or tap the raise hand button on the menu bar on the bottom of your screen at any time during that agenda item. You will be called upon by the chair and have the opportunity to speak to the commission and the audience. If you're calling into the meeting by phone, you can press *9 to raise your virtual hand to speak. Please use the Q&A function only if you have questions about the meeting process. Please do not use it for testimony. This meeting is being recorded and will later be posted to our website. If you are in our audience in person, please come to the table when the chair asks for public comments. Write your name on the paper provided, turn on the microphone, and speak to the commissioners. Thank you for joining us, and now I'll turn the meeting over to Jesse Lawrence, the commission chair.
Thank you, Dave, and thank you, Michael. I will now call the roll for commissioners that are present here today. Commissioner Brown?
Present.
Commissioner Threet? Commissioner Somerville?
Present.
Commissioner Valle?
Present.
And I believe online we have Commissioner Lee?
Present.
And Commissioner Iding?
Present.
I believe we have quorum. And with that said, I will now call for a approval of the minutes from three different meetings, February 19th, June 4th, and June 11th of this year. It is the first action item on today's agenda. Hopefully, commissioners have had a chance to review these three different sets of minutes from those meetings. Is there a motion to approve these three sets of meeting minutes that have been presented here today?
I move to approve the meeting minutes.
We have a motion from Commissioner Valle, properly seconded by Commissioner Somerville. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Being none, motion carries. Thank you very much. And the meeting minutes have been approved for those three different dates. I'll now move on to the next item on the agenda, which is our executive director's update, from Director Howell from the commission. Director Howell?
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, commissioners and members of the public. Thanks for joining us. My name's Octavia Howell, Executive Director of the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. Our next meetings, this next Civic Design Review Committee meeting will take place on Tuesday, August 4th at 1 p.m. And our next regularly scheduled City Planning Commission meeting are Thursday, August 20th and Thursday, September 17th, both at 1 p.m. We'll host these meetings in person at 1515 Arch Street in room 18-029 and on Zoom. We have some staff announcements that we'd like to tell you about. Nate Dorfman is leaving the Planning Commission to join the Delaware River Port Authority as a grants manager. He joined the Planning Commission in June of 2024 from the Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Systems, otherwise known as OTIS, and has served as the Upper North District Planner and on the Policy and Analysis team for about 2 years. He grew up in Philadelphia and has contributed greatly to our organization through his work on the capital program and budget especially, as well as becoming a trusted resource for community members. We'll miss his optimism, his positivity, his hard work, but look forward to working with him in his new role with the Port Authority. We have 2 promotions we'd like to announce. Both Abigail Poses and Jessica Hammonds were promoted to be GIS managers in July 2025 for Abby and February for Jess in 2026. So we missed the mark on announcing those, but wanted to acknowledge them both. We have some recently hired staff. We have staff in our GIS and IT unit, our human resources unit, and the development review team. Langston Alexander is joining our development review team. We're excited to have him join our team to support environmental reviews for a new project in the city. Alita Burke is joining our human resources team. Alita has a master's of business from Lincoln University with a concentration in finance. She brings a diverse background in customer service to the city of Philadelphia, with her most recent experience being in banking and financial services. As a human resources trainee with the department, Alita is training as an HR generalist to assist with departmental needs in various areas. Nasir Minor is joining the human resources team. He's a recent graduate from Westchester University, where he studied marketing and internal business. Before coming to the city, Nasir was previously employed at PNC Bank in their retail banking division. As a human resources trainee with the department, he's training as an HR generalist to assist with departmental needs in various areas. Leonard Bayham, also known as LJ, is joining our IT unit. Leonard is from New Orleans, Louisiana, where he works with the DPD OIT team as a quick base admin, or he works with the DPD OIT team as a quick base administrator. Before starting here, he worked with the Philadelphia Zoo, where he handled ticketing and reservation issues, as well as getting people set up with memberships to the zoo. Gina Freshcone is joining our GIS and IT unit. She is a Temple University graduate where they receive a BA in Environmental Studies. Gina most recently served in the Philadelphia AmeriCorps Vista program as her Housing Security and Poverty Policy Vista. She previously served in the AmeriCorps New Jersey Watershed Ambassadors Program as an environmental educator, scientist, and land steward dedicated to improving watershed health. Brett Black is joining our GIS/IT team. He's a web and game developer who spent his entire life in the greater Philadelphia area. He's built his career around rapidly developing software solutions from the ground up and is excited to bring that experience to the city of Philadelphia. Welcome to all of our new staff. Probably going to be getting a lot of these updates with long lists of new staff, but we're excited to be building out our capacity. I wanted to share a bit about our Market East Public Engagement Hub. We wanted to tell you that the Engagement Hub is now open through the end of July on Wednesdays through Fridays from 12 to 6 p.m. My Market East is an interactive engagement hub where members of the public can interact with staff, learn about the Market East revival effort, and provide us valuable feedback. We also launched a website, and you can see, probably not on this screen, but on the next, a screenshot of that website. So we encourage members of the commission and really members of the public to please visit the hub at 930, not 932, 930 Market Street, and really share with us what you're seeing, we're in this hub, we're talking about what we've heard from you so far, and this is our opportunity to hear from you to say, are we getting it right before we come to our final plan at the end of the year. That concludes my executive director's update. I'm happy to take any questions, and we'll turn the meeting over to the chair.
Any questions for Director Howell on her update? Seeing none, I also want to echo my thanks for Nate and his service to the commission over time. He will be missed, and I wish him all the best. Also excited about the expansion on the personnel side, which again, to your point, we'll see more in the coming months. And also kudos to the team that worked very closely to stand up that hub on Market Street yesterday. It was well received, a lot of positive feedback, and definitely a great amount of affirmation from both City Hall and councilmanic partners on that side. So congratulations on that, and exciting times and great milestones. With that said, I will now move on to the actual one action item on today's agenda, and that will be a request related to 2931 West Bells Mill Road, and I think that will be presented by Nina. Nina, are you at the station?
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Nina Solomonic, and I am a city planner on the Development Division and the Upper Northwest District Planner. Today, I'm presenting a request for excess impervious coverage under the Wissahickon Watershed Overlay at 2931 West Bells Mill Road. In order to protect the Wissahickon watershed in Northwest Philadelphia, any development that will exceed its impervious ground cover restrictions could apply for a waiver from the Planning Commission. Waivers are only granted when the project ensures that the excess impervious ground cover will not interfere with stormwater drainage in the Wissahickon Watershed Overlay District, and the development does not significantly diminish the infiltration capacity of the site. These requests are infrequent, so as background to the board and members of the public, the Wissahickon Watershed Overlay intends to control flooding and erosion by placing a limit on allowable impervious cover. The Planning Commission's role is to allow additional impervious cover in accordance with specific criteria. The Commission approval for excess impervious coverage is required for the zoning permit. The Philadelphia Water Department reviews for conceptual approval. Wrong direction. The following criteria must be demonstrated for the board to allow a waiver. 1, stormwater leaving the property shall be substantially similar in effect to that under the basic impervious coverage limitation. 2, stormwater countermeasures shall not require excessive or significant maintenance. 3, design of stormwater countermeasures must take account of stormwater runoff that enters the property from adjacent land. 4, the method of handling runoff on the site must be in accord with sound engineering practices and must not significantly accelerate on-site erosion. 5, such development must not significantly diminish the infiltration capacity of the site. Shown on the right is the location of the site within the Wissahickon Watershed Overlay boundary. 2931 West Bells Mill, outlined in yellow, is situated off of West Bells Mill Road and a private paved road extending through the Sugarloaf campus and down to Germantown Avenue. The property borders Wissahickon Park to the west and the Sugarloaf campus to the north, and is within the Wissahickon Watershed Overlay and the steep slope protection area. Oops, sorry. The property, also known as the Sugarloaf Orchard Estate, was established in 1918. Together, 29 and 31 is roughly 4.8 acres, or 198,018 square feet total land area. 31 West Bells Mill contains a 3-story, 6,700 square foot house, a 2-story carriage house with a 3-car garage and 2 apartments above, as well as the remains of a large greenhouse and ice house. There will be no change to the existing residential single-family detached RSD1 zoning. The Wissahickon Watershed Overlay is based on a study which produced a report and a regulatory map that the Planning Commission staff reference for their reviews. There are 5 categories of impervious coverage restrictions. The categories do not always align with the parcel boundaries, which infrequently results in a parcel split between multiple categories. 31 West Bells Mill is split between Category 1, shown in red, which has a 20% max impervious coverage, and Category 5, which has no restriction on impervious coverage. Both areas of the site have coverage which are calculated separately. The overall proposal is for a 7,242 square foot, two-story addition to the single-family detached home. The light and dark gray shown on the plan show 15 to 25% plus slopes, a requirement of the steep slopes review area. Most of the site is steeply sloped down toward Bells Mill Road. While the proposed development is in the more sensitive watershed category, staff appreciates that it concentrates the area of disturbance within the existing developed area of the site. On the right is the existing site conditions partial plan. For legibility, I've zoomed in to highlight the Wissahickon watershed category 1 area outlined in red, which has an allowable impervious coverage of 20%. There's an existing impervious coverage of 32.1% shown in yellow. It's made up of an existing 3-story stone dwelling, the private driveway, and stone patio totaling 9,510 square feet. The orange dashed line shows the limit of disturbance for this project, which totals 14,750 square feet. The proposed new impervious area within Category 1 is highlighted in dark yellow. The development proposal includes a 7,242 square foot, two-story addition onto the existing building, totaling a proposed building area of 10,419 square feet. The total proposed impervious area is going to be 34.5%, leaving the total exceedance at 14.5%. Here's a closer look at the stormwater management plan. The proposed countermeasures for the increase in excess impervious area are 675 square feet of porous pavers in Category 1 at the rear upper patio, highlighted in bright green. The blue outline shows the drainage area that goes to a 812 square foot infiltration basin and level spreader on site, shown with a blue rectangle. The project successfully manages the expected increase in stormwater flow. The project proposes porous pavers and an infiltration basin with a level spreader, both of which require periodic maintenance that is not excessive. Calculations account for runoff from adjacent properties. The stormwater system has been designed by a Pennsylvania professional engineer and reviewed by PWD on 6/30/26, resulting in conceptual approval. The project proposes standard methods for capturing and managing stormwater on site. The stormwater management strategy combined with the development does limit the potential for erosion on site. The proposal manages the excess impervious cover on site. Infiltration will occur as part of the project's stormwater management via the porous pavers, infiltration basin, and level spreader. Therefore, the proposal is consistent with the Philadelphia Comprehensive Plan goal titled Citywide Vision Renew 7.2.3, support stormwater regulations set by the Philadelphia Water Department to capture stormwater on site and reduce flooding damage. The staff recommendation is for approval for the request for the excess impervious coverage at under the Wissahickon watershed overlay at 2931 West Bells Mill Road. I also have members of the applicant team available and PWD staff, should there be any further technical questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Nina. And before I open it up to questions and comments, I just want to say thank you for the presentation. To your point earlier about it being requests that we don't normally send, I think you did a really good job at presenting the information, the complexities of the request. I'm a super visual person, so I really appreciated the maps and diagrams that illustrated, I think, what the case and the request is. So thank you for that. With that said, are there any questions from the commissioners on the staff recommendation for approval here?
I just have a couple questions.
Commissioner Somerville?
I want to know if there has been previous floods in this area, and also I understand they're doing an extension now. Is there plans for future development on this site as well?
So in terms of the floods, I might tap in Evan from PWD if they can be promoted to speak if there's any localized information they can provide. And then if the development team is interested in providing any additional information about future development on the site, we have two folks in the room who could come up to the mic and respond to those questions as well.
Folks from the audience, feel free to approach, but do we want to elevate Evan from the Water Department to provide some commentary?
Evan, if you could raise your hand, I'll promote you.
Oh, well, no, we had Evan online. I'm sorry.
Evan
from the
and
wa-
Eric, sorry.
Yeah, from the Water Department. Well, as we're waiting for Evan, hi, Eric. Yeah,
Hello,
feel
good
free.
afternoon.
State your name for us, please.
Here we go. Good afternoon, Eric Bodson of the law firm Blank Room. I'm also joined by Leslie Cunningham of Cornerstone Engineers. Should I address the second part of the question?
Please
while we
Yeah,
wait for
go
Evan?
ahead.
Absolutely. So, well, first of all, and foremost, on behalf of the ownership and design team for this property, we just wanted to echo, Director, your thanks to Nina and the team at both PCPC and the Water Department. This is really detailed and technical matter, and the continued guidance on the design, submission, and ultimately the conceptual approval of plans from Cornerstone was really exceptional, and the entire team really appreciates it. With respect to proposed development of the site, I think on one of those great visuals, you can see that this requirement of impervious coverage was triggered by a permit application for the expansion to the main house of the estate, to one side of the main house of the estate, and that is the extent of development that's being proposed.
So you're stating there's no further development plan that you're aware of? for
Yes,
this site?
yes, that's correct.
Thanks for that, Eric. Did we get Evan from the Water Department online yet?
We've asked for him to be promoted. Derek?
Folks, thanks for bearing with us. Eric, are you on?
Aaron,
Eric,
or
excuse-
Evan, sorry.
Two E's. Evan from the Water Department, are we online yet?
Eric, you can unmute and speak to the commission.
Hello, Evan Hughesnick here, Philadelphia Water Department. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, excellent. Just could you repeat the question regarding the flooding, I believe?
Would you mind?
Sure. The question was, has there been previous flooding at this site? And how was that mitigated? And do you determine, we're stating that no further development is happening beyond what's already happening here. Bells Mill Road has several residential, and of course, we've seen what's happening across the city right now with heavy rains. So I'm concerned about, has it been flooding in this area and how's it been managed previously?
So the site is located outside of both 100-year and 500-year floodplains, according to both FEMA and PASDA data. We have not received any reports of previous flooding in recent history. We have not received any records and don't have records available. But so I would say that the answer from the available data we have is no, there has not been any records of flooding or reports of flooding for this area.
Thank you.
Thanks, Evan. Any more questions from any of the commissioners, whether the ones in present or the ones online?
I have a question. Joyce Lee.
Commissioner Lee?
Yes. I want to echo that. Thank you for the careful review from the staff on this project, and it is happening in one of the more sensitive sites in the city. where drainage and erosion are both of concern. My question is several-fold. The first one being, one cannot really see very clearly on the site plan where if there are any trees or heritage trees being cut down by this development, and if so, are there any replanting plans? Second is if there might be a green roof as a result of the mitigation and the application of the new development. And third, maybe a question for PWD, because of porous pavers and some of these other actions need periodic maintenance. Do you do inspection, let's say, 5 years or more out to review the effectiveness of some of these measures?
So just taking your first two questions, seemingly, I guess the developers can address those. We have Eric already. Would you mind saying your name?
I'll sign it. My name is Leslie Cunningham. I'm with Cornerstone Consulting, and I was a civil engineer for the project.
I think, Leslie, the question was whether or not there was any consideration or a quantification of, I guess, heritage trees, and then also if there were any green roof components added to the scope.
To address the heritage trees, and Nina brought this up also, the development is really, the expansion of the building is really in the existing development of the parcel now, including, like, there were patios that extended with, and a couple other like buildings that are dilapidated, small one-story buildings that are dilapidated now. So the expansion really focuses on the existing developed area. As far as heritage trees, no, there are not any heritage trees being removed. I think there was 1 or 2 smaller trees, and we are planning tree replacements for those.
So, Ms. Cunningham, it's safe to say the development that we're seeing anticipated here is really kind of on the footprint of some previously already developed parts of the parcel.
Correct.
Gotcha. And Commissioner Lee, would you mind just repeating the water department question, and hopefully we still have Evan to address that. Commissioner Lee, would you repeat that?
Sure. And assuming there is no green roof plan for this new addition, I think that question is answered. Second, for PWD, because a lot of these design calculations are very robust in the beginning, and some of these mitigation plans would have to really work in the out years. Does PWD go back and look at these sensitive sites to see if these porous pavers are in place and are working properly to address your concern about this part of the city?
Well, Evan Hughesnick here. Since this site is not having an operations and maintenance agreement with the city per se, we will be doing periodic inspections during the construction process and ensuring that it's meeting erosion sediment control requirements during the construction and stabilization of the site. But as I understand, we do not typically do periodic inspections post-development for these type of sites.
Thank you. You answered the question.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Threet, I think you had a question.
I just wanted to know if the addition of the physical structures have an impact on the more likelihood of flooding on the parcel.
Again, it's really being developed on the existing developed area, and we are managing the existing impervious cover on the site is 32%, which is over the permitted 20% today. And it's been that way for years. You guys saw how old the home is. So we're actually managing to bring it down. We're managing a lot of the existing impervious cover also, along with our along with our new impervious coverage. So no, in my opinion, it's not.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any more questions from the commissioners? All right, seeing none. Are there any questions for the folks in attendance? From the folks in attendance, excuse me. Seeing none live, do we have any questions online? Right.
We have a hand raised from Rhiannon Ball. Could she be promoted to panelist?
Rhiannon, are you with us?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
We do. Welcome.
Great, thank you. Oh, my video's a little messed up here. Anyways, thanks for explaining all of this, council folks. I just wanted to comment that I do oppose this waiver. Why are we even considering weakening or negotiating watershed protections for a single private residence that's already over the amount of acceptable impervious watershed coverage? My question to the council is, have we asked the applicant to present a fully compliant alternative design? If not, why not? The commission should require one before considering any exception. Our water protection should serve the public and should not be treated as flexible when they interfere with luxury housing development. Please deny the waiver. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments, Rhiannon. Thank you.
We have a hand raised from an Annette Houston Johnson. She can be promoted.
Hi, Annette.
Annette, please unmute and direct your questions to the commission.
Annette, before we move on, just want to check one last time if you're available. All right, we're going to move on. All right, thank you for the dialogue. We have a staff recommendation for approval presented by Ms. Solomonic. I will now call for a motion on this item. Is there a motion?
Motion to accept the recommendation.
We have a motion from Commissioner Iding. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion properly seconded by Commissioner Brown. I'll now poll. Commissioner Brown? Commissioner Threet? Commissioner Somerville?
Aye.
Commissioner Valle? Commissioner Lee?
Abstain.
And Commissioner Iding.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you.
Next item on today's agenda is an information-only item. It'll be an update on the commission's accomplishments and upcoming projects, and that will be presented by Mr. Fecto and David.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair, and I appreciate it. Commissioners, David Fecto with the legislative team here at the City Planning Commission. We wanted to take this time to uplift some of our Planning Commission staff and give them some acknowledgement that they may not get year-round. And we're thinking if you enjoy this, we might try to do another update like this, maybe in another slow month. So our first project is to develop a vacant land strategy. The Department of Planning and Development staff have been working with a consultant team to develop a strategy for vacant land. The strategy was called for by City Council through legislation beginning in 2021. Peter Barnard, supervisor for our policy team, has been project managing with support from other PCPC staff. We are currently finalizing a draft for public review, and we plan to present the strategy to the Commission once it is released. The final strategy will need to be adopted by the Land Bank, Philadelphia Redevelopment Authority, and City Council. The next, you heard an update from several of our staff in May, including Michael Gall, on Tier 2 for the Mayor's Home Initiative. And we thought we'd highlight this and let you know, as part of Home Tier 2, staff of the Planning Commission developed tools to target high-density community development in places best able to absorb it. This package of bills, generally described as transit-oriented communities, expanded the radius where the current zoning incentives apply around transit stations that are already designated transit-oriented development stations. These incentives include dwelling unit bonuses and reducing required parking spaces, and they only apply to land that is zoned for multifamily. The mayor signed this package of bills in June. Michael Gall was the project manager with an assist from Keith Davis and our development review team. We've been working for the past 2 years with a neighborhood resident committee in Southwest Center City, also known as Graduate Hospital. The result will be a set of design standards for the outside, the exterior, of residential buildings in an area roughly bounded by Cater Street, 17th Street, League Street, and Grays Ferry Avenue. PCPC staff attended meetings hosted by the resident committee, and we hosted one of our own online meetings. A draft of those standards is in the City Council President's office, awaiting introduction. Staff has, I apologize, Eliza Bauer is our project manager for that project. We've also been working with the Manayunk Neighborhood Council and the Manayunk Development Corporation to assist them in revising their current zoning overlay, which covers most of Main Street. Public engagement included a survey distributed to over 250 people, focus group meetings, a public open house, and community group meetings. Work includes reviewing and updating allowable and prohibited uses, mitigating flood impacts, reviewing development standards for properties in the floodplain, thinking through development scenarios on Lower Main Street, and revising the overlay's current boundaries. Our work plan includes short-term options that have community support and long-term options that need further study. Jaylene Gutierrez is the project manager. We have been working with the Commerce Department and ESI on a semi-regular inventory of commercial corridors throughout Philadelphia. The inventory focuses on basic characteristics such as location, size, vacancy, a mix of stores, and physical condition and parking. This is the 6th update since the process started in 1988. This information will help with PCPC's comprehensive plan update and the Commerce Department's business attraction and retention and corridor management initiatives. Camilla Lazundia is the project manager. On June 23, the mayor signed bill number 260390. This bill adjusted several pre-approved farmers market locations listed in Title IX of the Philadelphia Code to include the curb line of the right-of-way in the code description. The purpose of this bill is to make it easier for market operators to obtain temporary no parking signs from their local police district and for vendors to park near their stalls on market days. As a companion, on June 22nd, 2025, city staff updated the Philadelphia Farmers Market Operators Guide, including more robust information about the legality of potential market locations. The Philadelphia Department of Public Health's Division of Chronic Disease and Injury Prevention also rolled out a new farmers market planning tool to help potential operators learn about occupied and approved locations across the city. This is a partner tool to the previously developed Farmers Market Finder tool, which helps residents find a farmers market near them. These actions supported implementation of Philadelphia 2035's Healthy Food Access Recommendations. Abigail Sabatka-Briner, who we share with the Department of Public Health, was our lead planner for this project. The Department of Planning and Development worked with the Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Systems and the Philadelphia Parking Authority to return intercity bus service to an improved dedicated structure after its closure in 2023. Mason Austin was the Commission's project manager for this. And finally, affordable housing references currently exist in Title VII, the Housing Code, and Title 14 of the Planning and Zoning Code within the larger Philadelphia Code. This makes finding affordable housing incentives and requirements confusing. We will consolidate these references, remove redundancies and conflicts, and place as many references as we can into a new inclusionary zoning chapter in Title 14. This will enhance legibility and transparency. Melissa Florkowski from our Division of Development Services is the project manager. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, David. I think it is worth a round of applause because we don't celebrate our accomplishments as frequently as we do. Oftentimes the headlines kind of celebrate the problems, but we don't do a really good job at celebrating our wins. So thank you for this portion of today's agenda, and I look forward to having these going forward. With that said, we are moving on to the last item on the agenda, which is also information only, and that will be a data centers issue brief, and that'll be presented by Amy Floyd. Hi, Amy.
Hi, everybody. My name is Amy Boyd. I'm with the Planning Commission staff. And as we know, this is an information-only presentation on data centers. While we recognize that there are many important angles on this topic, we will focus today on land use issues. The purpose is to provide an update to commissioners on what the staff has been working on. As I'm sure you've heard, data centers are a hot topic in land use around the country. PCPC staff wants to stay up to date on this issue so that when the topic becomes more pressing in our city, we can be prepared. At the end, we will have an opportunity to discuss and have questions. So a little bit about what you'll be hearing today. First, I will provide an overview of what data centers are, specifically their needs and impacts in the landscape in Philadelphia today. Second, I will present geographic considerations. Last, I will share policy considerations and a policy menu. So what are data centers? Data centers are physical spaces that store digital data. These facilities contain servers, routers, switches, storage systems, and other equipment that run continuously. Facilities support cloud-based computing, artificial intelligence, digital gaming, streaming music, movies, data analytics, and other services. There are three major types of data centers and a huge variation in size. Facility type does not always directly correlate with size, but they are roughly related. Enterprise centers hold data for one institution and are generally less than 30,000 square feet of floor space. Co-location facilities are available for rent for other companies, generally 30,000 to 100,000 square feet. And hyperscale facilities serve the largest tech companies over 100,000 square feet. Let's take a closer look at each one. As I share details of each type of facility, we use this image as a scale reference. The orange box is the roof area of Home Depot. This one specifically is in Port Richmond. The footprint is 134,000 square feet. Enterprise centers are the first type. A single company hosts their facility on site with other operations. This is an example from just around the corner in Center City at 401 North Broad Street. This is a 1.3 million square foot building that contains multiple floors of office and other uses, including a data center. This is an adaptive reuse building. One such tenant is local host Esports Arena. They use data center on site to support high-speed gaming for their customers. You'll see that it is roughly the same footprint as the Home Depot for the entire building that contains other uses. Second, co-location. Companies lease space in data centers that are owned by third parties. It is typical for co-location tenants to have their own staff to maintain their equipment, while the facility owner provides power, cooling for storage rooms, and building security. This, as an example, is the QTS data center in Miami, Florida. It is located in an auto-oriented shopping district. There are 2 buildings on a campus for a total of 1 acre or about 43,000 square feet. You'll see it is about the same area, including the landscaping, and is about the same size as the reference photo. And the third is hyperscale. The world's largest technology companies, such as Amazon Web Services, Google, IBM, and Microsoft, own proprietary data centers, sometimes leasing space to other companies. These centers are over 1 million square feet in gross floor area. This is a trending type of data centers as the demand for processing rises. As an example, the QTS data center in Hillsboro, Oregon. This facility is a 5-building campus of 51 acres of over 2.2 million square feet, and you'll see the reference photo dwarfed in comparison. Next, needs. When locating data centers, companies look for access to land, electricity, water, fiber optic connectivity, political stability, business friendliness, and low risk of natural disasters. Proximity to population centers helps data reach users faster, increasing processing speed and transmissions. There are also important characteristics of the facility itself that support its functionality. Due to the weight and structural requirements of equipment in the data center, purpose-built facilities have structures that are typically 1 floor in height with ceilings ranging about 38 feet in height. Data centers require powerful air conditioning units that run continuously to cool server rooms and provide water for server cooling. These requirements protect data by maintaining low temperatures and humidity and by providing stable electricity source. This reduces the risk of fire. Most modern data facilities are gated, heavily landscaped properties with secured areas controlling physical access to the facility. You can see some of the equipment on the photo on your screen. This is a diagram of some of that equipment again. You can see the large centers are normally built as campuses like the QTS examples we just saw. They include rooftop cooling systems, external diesel backup generators, electrical substations and transmission lines, and security perimeters. And now the impacts. The larger the facility, the bigger impact it has on surrounding properties. Economic. While the day-to-day operation of data centers generates some tax revenue, most municipal revenue is generated during construction. Construction can take up to 18 months or longer and employ around 1,500 workers, depending on the size and infrastructure needed for the project. After construction, typical employees include facility manager, technology professionals, engineering and maintenance staff, and security. These jobs are typically well paid. However, after completion, an operating facility normally employs 1 worker per 5,000 square feet, which is 13% of a typical warehouse distribution center's employment ratio. Data centers are now among the top 10 water-consuming industries. The smallest facilities require less water than a household, where the largest require up to 5 million gallons per day, which is roughly 17,000 households. Data centers also use up to 4% of the nation's electricity, and that figure is expected to grow to 12% by 2035. Each data center uses between 5 and 100 megawatts of power. Larger facilities require their own power lines and substations to connect high voltage transmission lines, as we saw in the previous slide. Each center has backup diesel generators to ensure uninterrupted service in the event of power failure. Each generator can be the size of a semi-truck trailer, and one facility may have several, which are generally used for only a few hours a day. And you can see a photo of that on the left. Local energy providers often need to make capital investments to meet data center needs. Noise, light, and vibrations. Cooling equipment in data center emits noise and vibrations 24 hours a day, while light is emitted for security. Neighbors of large facilities have reported instances of migraines, trouble sleeping, and difficulties with concentration. Now moving to Philadelphia. Without a specific definition in the zoning code, the Department of License and Inspection reviews co-location and hyperscale facilities as research and development, which is an industrial use section. Data centers have existed in and around Philadelphia for decades. There are about 8 data centers currently located in the city. These facilities are a fraction of the size of modern purpose-built facilities. According to the Department of Commerce, technology companies and developers have been contacting the city to scout locations for larger facilities. They have been unable to find spaces large enough to meet the needs of those modern facilities. We'll speak more on this later. 2 examples from our cities. 365 Data Center operates a co-location facility at 3701 Market Street in University City. This operation is part of a multi-use building that includes offices, medical uses, and research labs. The entire building is 32,000 square feet. And that's on the right. To your point, on the left at 4775 Lake Island Boulevard in the Navy Yard. This is a 25,000 square foot co-location data center. It mimics the architecture of a typical suburban office building, featuring glazed windows, landscaping, and parking. It's about the quarter size of a typical modern data center. Auto-oriented life science buildings and office buildings surround the site. This map shows data centers in our region. The size of the pinpoint represents the scale of the facilities based on megawatts, and the color represents the status of the facility, where yellow is proposed, blue is operating, and red is canceled. You can see a handful of data centers operating in Philadelphia. There are also several outlying The largest facility is Amazon Falls Township, currently under construction. Legislation about data centers has been increasing in the last few years. In Philadelphia, 2 resolutions were passed in the fall of 2025 that mention data centers. First, from Councilmember Lando. This authorized the Committee of Technology and Information Services to hold hearings on the impact of data centers. This hearing has not yet been scheduled. The second, from Councilmember Thomas, introduced also in the fall of 2025, is on energy costs, citing data centers and AI as drivers of demand. This committee hearing was held on May 12, 2026. Now, geographic considerations. As stated earlier, without specific definition, data centers fall under the industrial use category. In Philadelphia, industrially zoned districts are typically adjacent to traditionally advantaged and underserved residential neighborhoods. As it does across the country, this results in a disproportionate exposure to pollutants and other environmental factors that harm health. On the map, industrially zoned land is shown in hatched. Census tracts with high potential for disadvantage are in red. This is a score developed by the Delaware Regional Valley Planning Commission. Scores are up to 30, and scores 20 and above are shown. This metric includes people of color, foreign-born, low English proficiency, youth, older adults, women, and low-income people. Data centers also produce heat, so attention must be paid to the placement in relation to neighborhoods that already have high heat vulnerability. This map shows moderate to high heat vulnerability and red and industrial land hatched. This metric includes hotter areas where people are most vulnerable to heat, such as older adults and people with certain medical conditions. Staff calculated how much land would be available for potential future data centers. We focus on hyperscale facilities because this is the trending type. The criteria we used are over 40 acres of land, industrial zoning, vacant structures, or vacant land. Staff found just 2 parcels. But note that this does not include possibilities to consolidate lots or remap the zoning. Now to policy. When developing land use policy for data centers, several considerations must be made. The first is opportunity cost. While the idea of using empty office space for data centers is gaining traction, there is large opportunity cost for taking up space better suited for highly active uses. Center City, Philadelphia has a particularly vibrant commercial and residential market. In other areas, data centers require a large amount of land for the newer warehouse-like structures and can be environmentally disruptive to surrounding communities without providing commensurate employment opportunities. Flooding. Flooding can jeopardize operation and create hazardous conditions. Flood-prone areas must be avoided, including areas along the tidal Schuylkill River. Access to power. Data centers require so much power that upgrades to local grids and additional transformers are often required. The Navy Yard is not an ideal location for data centers under the current infrastructure, as it is served by its own grid. If facilities draw too much power, more than the infrastructure can handle, it will jeopardize the operation of nearby life science facilities. Impact on neighbors. To protect residents from disruptive noise, light, and vibrations, care must be taken to avoid siting facilities near residences. Special attention must be paid to avoid impacts on communities that have been historically most affected by the city's industrial land use choices, as we saw on the previous map. Reusing land. As technology changes quickly, data center facilities will one day become outdated, leading the question of how to adopt the land and buildings for other purposes. While servers generally last 3 to 4 years, cooling systems last about 10 years, and buildings have a useful life of 25 to 30 years. Some facilities can be reused for other types of data centers or industrial parks or logistics hubs. Data centers would leave behind structures with strong backup power and stable, powerful cooling infrastructure in large single-story halls. This is an emerging topic. And now, policy menu. When speaking about potential policy, it is important to note that data centers impact more than just land use. Therefore, any policy should include impacted agencies such as PICO, PWD, Commerce, Sustainability to craft comprehensive policies. The foundation of any land use policies require a use definition, differentiation in scale, and consideration of accessory uses. Defining the use. Creating a specific definition for data centers in the zoning code allows the city to address unique impacts, separating them from other research and development or industrial activities. On the screen is an example of a use definition from another jurisdiction. Differentiating the scale of data centers would allow the city to not only regulate the specific activities as far as land use, but also the operations in relation to their scale and therefore their impact. Based on impacts on the surrounding areas, facilities fall into three categories as we've seen previously. Small scale facilities, that's 30,000 and under. These are generally non-disruptive and could be part of operations for organizations such as hospitals and universities or as a co-location facilities. This is an example you saw earlier from North Broad Street and number 1. Medium scale facilities begin to require intensive IT and powerful infrastructure and security. We see an example from the Miami facility labeled number 2. Large-scale facilities require intense land use, energy, and water and are highly disruptive to their surrounding. See the Hillsborough example number 3. Lastly, accessory uses. Some jurisdictions explicitly include accessory uses. These are uses that are part of the data center operation. A list of uses on the screen are shown that have shown up in other zoning codes. Allowing the uses alongside data centers is meant to limit the spillover effects of power consumption and other activities on the grid. Planning Commission staff is currently working with other agencies in the city to craft a definition of data centers that is appropriate for our city. This lays a foundation for land use regulations and helps ready us for potential proposals to site data centers in our city. Now we would like to hear from the Commission. Let us know if we've missed anything as far as the needs, impacts, and land use issues or policy considerations for land use. If you have additional thoughts or questions, we'd like to hear them as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy, for the presentation. And I don't know about you other commissioners, but I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is that these are already living amongst us, and I don't even know if we realized it. But before we move on to the audience and folks online for Q&A, are there any questions from the commissioners for Amy for the material presented here today?
I have a general question.
Commissioner Brown?
So when the topic of data centers have come up, oftentimes you hear about the impact on the utility bills of the residents in the neighboring areas. So do we know, or have we found any way to quantify, like if we build a data center, how much that would affect the community? I know it may or may not, because there's some offsetting things that people have tried to do, but has there been any studies of like the actual amount that may be affecting the people?
Yes, thank you for your question. This is a very important topic. As the Planning Commission, we're focusing more on land use, but we have partnered with sustainability to do some research, and we'd also like to get PICO involved.
Thanks, Commissioner. Any more questions? Commissioner Valle?
I have a question. Yes. I guess the thing that really stands out to me is the issue of data centers not requiring a specific zoning designation, it sounds like. So basically right now, anything that is zoned industrial would be fair game for a data center. So I wondered if there's precedents elsewhere, if we've looked at talking about how do we identify a specific zoning designation for data centers versus science and technology, so that we would have the opportunity to also put different, considerations around that designation.
Yes, that's part of our research. So we've been looking into other codes, what other municipalities have done. The first step is creating the definition so that we can treat those separately. And then the next step is deciding where we would like to see them. Obviously, that's not something the Planning Commission would do on our own. We would need our legislators and other agencies involved.
Thank you. I mean, to me, that's really, really critical that we're able to isolate that as a category so that they're not kind of slipped under other designations. Thank you.
I
Thank
agree
you.
with you, and I'm glad to hear that that is on the horizon for consideration as we continue research.
Chair, we have hands raised from Commissioners Eiding and Lee online as well.
Got you. Commissioner Three?
I had a question is, who really decides if these centers will be allowed as a matter of right, or if you would need a variance for them?
So that would, so after we do a definition, if that gets adopted, and then we have another bill that's adopted by council and enacted by the mayor, that would decide on what kind of zoning districts it would be allowed in, either prohibited or by right or by special exception. And then, so it would be a partnership between multiple agencies, including council.
So am I up, Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Eiding, I think we're having a little haptic feedback. Maybe turn your speakers down as you present your question.
Let me try. Does this help? Okay, I'll try to pose the question. If not, I'll let it go. But when calculating work available, I think after the facility is built, the work available is limited to a few numbers. But I don't know if it's considered the amount of maintenance that would go on to these critical facilities because of the criteria of temperature and those things. There'll be maintenance going on all the time. The other thought I have is when we're looking at these things, the data center up in Bucks County was mentioned. And if I'm not mistaken, it's being put together in a steel mill that has always been a lack of use available for that kind of a facility that's laying dormant, which we do have around. And I hate to mention this, but there's a huge plot of ground down where there was a refinery that the soil has never really been changed, so nothing can be built down. And that's an area that's going to be very limited for what can be put there. So if we're putting thought into what we're doing, I think we should put a lot of thought before we turn things away of what we have available that's not going to be used for anything for a long term. Just my thoughts. And then like to know as we go forward, some research on how many man hours are in one of these facilities ongoing for maintenance and keeping the facility going. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that insight. I think we all appreciate that insight, and I think it does give a perspective on the development and contracting side. But I do think that that is something, all of the above is something we can consider as we continue to research going forward, especially as we dive in a little bit more about site specificity and so on and so forth. So thank you. Commissioner Lee?
Yes, hello. I do want to again thank the staff for this very thoughtful study. So much ground has been covered, and I do share the same concerns that the staff have, as well as I would say many people here and in the community. I do want to raise that this is a really maybe good time to think about what we can do collectively to get better planning in place and think of some of these type of development impacts that could benefit the community. Number one, having seen the Virginia and Texas example of this installation, why Virginia has a very tight grid, Texas has been benefiting from renewable generation and using that for data center use. We have a very strong sustainability office here, and thinking about perhaps requesting developers to bring in their own renewable power can perhaps also help with economic development and our sustainability goals in the city. Second is vehicle trucks that are actually fewer than most industrial development because of the low occupancy of this building. So traffic congestion is in some ways less of an issue than other types of development. Data center does currently have noise and vibration concerns, but these are because they are constant. The cancellation techniques are being developed as we speak. And this is the type of development that is actually a little bit more predictable than other types of development when you might have, 2 a.m. noise, unpredictable issues. The other issue that we can begin to look at is really asking developers very hard about their backup storage. A lot of developers have thought about this already. And if this is an opportunity to increase community infrastructure on stabilizing the local grid, shaping peak demand, and support overall resilience, this is a great time to do a little bit of collaboration. In many ways, it's not that different from, let's say, asking developer to provide public art for the good of the community. But it does underscore the need for utility planning upfront because of the electrical demand and water demand of this type of development. I think land use really need to go hand in hand with utility at the upfront. And I'm so glad you're talking to PECO, but getting them to provide all the parameters seems to be quite important.
Thank you for the feedback and commentary, Commissioner Lee. I do agree with you that, us thinking about this now and being anticipatory is super important. I think that us not reacting to a proposal as opposed to just actually presenting something so that if and when inevitably this does become presented to us, we have, I think, a good sense of kind of what it takes to operate such a facility. I mean, the absolute levels to it, between kind of the co-location and the enterprises. Like, I don't think I quite knew that there were tiers. And I mean, even as simple as just kind of comparing it to a Home Depot footprint, like that's a scalable kind of consideration. So just again, kudos to you, to your presentation. But I think that what we've done, we set the stage for just kind of how we kind of go forward in research. So thank you for the insight, Commissioner Lee. And I'm assuming that we will now move to Q&A in person and those live. And as we navigate through that, I just ask that just kind of echo my remarks in the beginning, that we keep all comments to 2 minutes at max. Also ask that folks state their name for the record as well. And let's try to also minimize repeating these same comments that have been presented for the sake of continuity and presentation. I'm sorry. You have a question?
I have a comment.
Oh, we have one more question or comment? Sorry, Commissioner.
No, again, I'm echoing probably what we've already heard, but again, I want to thank you for the presentation. Being in the Commerce Department, we are having these discussions, and we've been having, I would encourage us again to work in partnership. And as you're doing research with other sites, also do the outreach to the communities that may be parallel to some of those developments, to hear what's going on as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner 3.
Ms. Boyd, I thought your report was excellent. One of the things that I would like to see is what are the economic benefits to Philadelphia of these hyperscale facilities?
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. And with that, I'll open up the floor for commentary to those that are in attendance today. Does anybody wish to approach? Sure. And please, as you state your name, please sign it as well. Yeah, well, I mean, it's whatever works. Thanks. I'm sorry, we are at the last item, which is for the data centers. There was a Q&A period for item number 3, which was the watershed item, but this is number 5.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Linnea Bond. I am the Director of Education for Physicians for Social Responsibility Pennsylvania, as well as a resident living in the Spring Garden neighborhood. I heard a lot of things. We've been working across the state on data centers. It is probably the major issue that we're facing right now. This is all happening really, really fast, and I know there's so much to know. So I want to provide as many resources as we can, which I cannot do within 2 minutes. But I want to start with 3 things that I heard mentioned that I think are really important. Number 1, the role of PECO. We've intervened in multiple rate cases, and Data centers are what's driving costs for customers right now, and that happens in two ways, both in terms of transmission and upgrades to the grid, and also in terms of the load on the PJM marketplace, right? So we just saw, again, the PJM marketplace has had enormous, like the highest cost in energy again, and that is about to hit customers. It just happened in June. It's going to happen again. And that's going to continue happening because all of these data centers are being built. So when we talk about every single data center on the PJM grid is what's causing people to not be able to pay their bills. It's a huge health issue, and it's a huge affordability issue. Obviously, these are intersectional. I want to acknowledge, someone mentioned the PES refinery site. The person who owns that site, the Bellwether District, the owner of that site is on the board for PECO. So I want to acknowledge that there's a lot of intersection of interests happening here in terms of who's making money. PECO put in a rate case and rescinded it actually recently because it was Shapiro accused them of being greedy. And I think that that is a conversation that is going to keep happening, and especially from a resident perspective, that is hugely important. The other thing that I wanted to bring up is that in terms of the renewable power, if we built a data center anytime soon, it would not be renewable power. So understand this, we need time. If that is something that we're going to be interested in doing, we need a lot of time to figure that out. So the New York State just put in a moratorium on data centers, and that is what we should do in Philadelphia, because if we want any kind of conversation about how these work, if we want any protection for customers, and again, I mean, the grid realities are going to be, even if we have time, that's still going to hit customers. And this is really, I know we all know this is important, but I'm hearing stories directly from people who are like, I'm using candles to light my home. Like, we're talking about something really serious here in terms of people's health. And I want to also, you know what, I'm going to stop there, but we have a lot of reports on the health impacts also of generators. That's another big thing that we're seeing. A lot of times data centers are saying we're only going to use data generators during a certain time. They actually need to run them a lot more often. Also, we're talking about if you have a co-location plant, that's even more air quality. Look at today, like this is a perfect example of the impacts on people's health nearby. But then we're also talking about, from a perspective of climate change, every time we put a 500 megawatt data center on the grid, a gigawatt data center on the grid, we're talking about 500 megawatts is about the size of our city. That's a huge impact of climate change. And every time that's more energy that needs to be delivered, right? So if we're thinking, you know, we're in an emergency, it's so clear, we need to be really responsible with how we're talking about power. And I'm going to stop that there for now, but I would really like to share resources with anybody in this room who needs resources from us. We have a ton of reports from allies and from our own doctors and stuff. So thanks so much.
Ms. Bond, thank you so much for your comment. Is there anybody else that wishes to approach? Please. And feel free to approach together as one can sign their name and the other one can talk. Like it's absolutely okay.
Hi, my name is Kate Krause. I live in Port Richmond. And I'm joined by a lot of neighbors online. We learned about this meeting, some of us last night at 10 o'clock, some of us this morning at 10 o'clock in the morning, which is outrageous considering how important this is. Let's see. AI data centers are not simply another form of commercial real estate. They are among the most energy intensive industrial facilities that a city can have. They threaten to deepen Philadelphia's dependence on fossil fuels and fracking and divert energy and water from our homes, public institutions, and local businesses. There is no sense of trust that PECO will not increase our electrical rates to support an AI data center under the pretense that it is somehow necessary to do so in some way that is whatever. And I would also say that the burden of these projects also falls unevenly. and are often proposed in neighborhoods like mine, Port Richmond, that have already borne decades, actually more than a century, since the 1880s, I believe, of industrial pollution and disinvestment and political neglect, as we saw this morning by the fact that nobody in the neighborhood knew about this meeting. And that's why they're all online and not in this room right now. We do not want to see that continue, and I can tell you that already people in Port Richmond have started to organize and are outraged by this situation, that this seems to be an ongoing project that the city is considering seriously. Philadelphia should be building projects that advance citywide prosperity and climate resilience. We have a commitment to being carbon neutral by 2050, and we, the neighbors of Port Richmond and people in the city, take that very seriously, especially on a day like today where we have a code red smoke emergency and a heat wave, both obviously related to climate change. There is a data center development freeze in New York State right now. We need an immediate moratorium on the development of data centers in Philadelphia. That's it. Thank you.
Ms. Cross, please remember to sign in. Thank you. Sir, you state your name, please.
Good morning. My name is Shamar Pitts, and I'm a Grace Ferry resident, and I'm from an organization called Philly Thrive, and we are an environmental justice advocacy group in South Philadelphia, and we advocate for environmental justice. And environmental justice is connected to all the justices that people like myself get the short end of the stick of and have been getting the short end of the stick of for a long time. So this is just one of those examples of us being targeted to get the short end of the stick. Because in my community, I know for a fact, I'm not coming up here just shooting from the hip. I know for a fact they want to build a data center in my community. That's what they want to do, right? And they hell-bent on it, right? And we see all of the things that happen to people when you have large-scale industrial things put in your community, and it affects the health of the community, like a day like today, where you see the haze and you smell the smoke, right? We've been living with that my whole lifetime before I was born because the oil refinery was there, right? And we've been living with that. And that's the same thing that will happen if you put a data center in our community. We'll be living with it all over again, right? And we know that, a lot of people are saying, oh, there's no formal requests and there's no this and there's no that. Well, I've been following this whole Bellwether district, which is a catastrophe for our community from day one, from before day one. This has been a catastrophe because I would like to add too that not only is the person that somebody mentioned that's the owner or whatever, or Bellwether or whoever, is he in line with PICO? Guess what? He's on the board of the Chamber of Commerce too. So we already know what the play is right now. You can see it. And everyday residents in my community, they don't understand it and they can't see it, but I'm following it and I see it. And it's about the billionaires making their billions on the backs of our communities, and the poor people are just the hell with you. And that's what they're trying to do right now. So with all of the impacts and all of those things being what they are, they the facts, right? We know it's bad for our community, and our community definitely doesn't want it. And I thank the commission for the work that they've done and all of the things that was said in the presentation, because that's what I was coming up here to talk about, all of those things that, you already said. So, I really appreciate it. If the commission, just took the consideration of the people in the community when they give their recommendation to our city officials, who I don't even think they're going to listen to the commission. If the commission say, don't build a data center, y'all, it's not good. They're not going to pay you no mind anyway, because they the ones hell-bent on doing it. I'm telling you, I know for a fact, all of them, top to bottom. So that's, I just wanted to represent that because, you know, if we don't come, they'll say we was compliant and we didn't care and we never said we didn't want it. So that's the only reason why I gotta come to the commission meetings and any other meeting they have. I gotta be there to voice it so they won't say, oh, they didn't care. They wanted it too. You know, no, we don't want it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pitts.
Yes.
Is anybody else would like to approach? Feel free to approach in pairs so that you all can sign in and talk at the same time. And be sure to state your name beforehand. Feel free to, yeah. Or, yeah.
Hello, my name is Miss Janet White, and I'm formerly a Grace Ferry resident, and all I'm up here is to say no to data centers because they are very harmful and very bad for us, our people, for their health, and what since I was living it, as I was living there has years ago, and the refinery blew up. Most of my people are not here to tell it, so I'm their voice, and I'm telling y'all that a data center is bad. So I'm up here to say this: no to data centers. Okay, that's it.
Appreciate you. Please state your name.
Yes. Hi, my name is Devin Washington. I'm the organizing director at People's Tech Project, a local organization that is working on tech policy here at the city, both AI policy, but then also the data center issue as well. One, I just want to commend the presentation that you all gave, the work that went into it. I was really afraid that it was going to parrot industry talking points, and it didn't. And so, yeah, I just want to commend that. And the second thing I want to say is that as it relates to the impact to the community, right? We've heard from Grace Ferry residents that it's something that they do not want. And I just want to confirm that in conversation with communities across the city, no one wants a data center in the South Philly location or any other part of the city, because it is an issue that will impact the entire city, while the residents of Grace Ferry will get the brunt of it. In addition to that, I do want to offer our support from People's Tech. We have a network of subject matter experts that are able to speak to the issues of data centers, not just from the perspective of the industry, right, but actually from the perspective of the community. And so if any of you have any questions that you would like to be answered, I definitely want to just make myself available to you. And whatever question you have, we can get that answered for you. Because ultimately, this is something if this happens, we will be ceding over major infrastructure, major land over to big tech that will be very hard to get back. And the thing is that this infrastructure, what does it do? It doesn't just expand the cloud. It doesn't just, allow us to post funny memes or whatever on social media, right? It empowers the AI, the license plate readers, the surveillance cameras that ICE has been using to destroy neighborhoods across the country, to deport immigrants across the country. That's what this technology, this advancement in technology is going to allow to happen, right? And so we all have a responsibility in the decisions that we make regarding how the city invests in technology, the tax breaks that it gives for the companies that they want to attract, to understand that there is an impact, right? This technology, the surveillance technology that we invest in right now, does not go away. And from administration to administration, it can create a real harm and threat to our communities that we are seeing play out in real time. So I implore everyone here to do what they can from their own positions to really think hard about what this piece of technology actually means for the city of Philadelphia. Thank you.
And thank you for that insight. And if there's anybody else that wishes to speak after these comments here, feel free to approach and start signing in so we can seamlessly get to the commentary. Please state your name.
Greetings. My name is Ivan Vivar, and I'm a resident in the 5th District, public school teacher and youth soccer coach for Kensington Soccer Club. And the first thing that comes to mind is that data centers will worsen the climate crisis that we've already got going on. On a day like this, I would love to gather the young people that I coach to play some more outside, but of course we can't with this crazy weather. And with data centers, we know that problem will only get worse. And honestly, to what end are we building these data centers for? I honestly believe there's like a false demand for this AI. None of us here need AI. A newborn born to this earth wouldn't need AI to thrive or survive or to live. And in fact, the AI and the data centers would harm that child, whether it be climate, whether it be through irrigation systems. And there's just no need. And we're already seeing a burst in the AI bubbles across international waters. We're seeing AI being biased towards its creators. Grok and such have already proven to be nefarious and sometimes downright wrong and evil in very dangerous settings, whether it be medical, legal, and as to my colleague Deb just said, in funding and abating ICE arrest and assault on Philadelphia citizens. So as a Philadelphia citizen, person of color living, right at or above the poverty line, I don't see in any way this AI or data centers helping me or the kids that I coach in their future. So I really implore that we put a memorandum pause on building data centers till we truly know just how wrong and how evil it is for our communities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, y'all, my name is Patrick Houston. For the sake of time, I'll sign in right after I share. Thanks for holding this presentation. Echo, I appreciate all the points that have been raised here. I live in North Philadelphia and just testifying to share some of my concerns about data centers and my hopes on how the Planning Commission and the city goes about it. First off, and I'll be brief because people mentioned many of the things, but first off, just overall, our city, as we know, is way behind. We have this 2050 climate commitment. We are nowhere near on track to meet that goal. And I'm really concerned that if we greenlight a bunch of data centers, we dig ourselves deeper into that hole and we worsen the energy burden that's already really high in this city. Large number of people paying high amounts of their income. If we add more to the grid, what will be the implications for affordability in our city? So concerned about that. I'm concerned about our climate goals and our ability to reach those. And then just very simply, people can't keep up right now. I grew up in Hunting Park. Right now I live in Brewery Town and work with neighbors in Brewery Town, although I'm speaking on my own behalf today. And people can't keep up, not with energy bills, not with food prices. We just saw, New Jersey, like $300 million of damage from the extreme heat this summer. And then if we pile on more data centers on top of that, people are struggling. And I implore the commission to figure out how can we put the brakes on this thing and to do something differently. The other thing I just wanted to share was understanding cities have needs of how are we making sure more revenue is coming into our city. But why is that always at the expense of places like Hunting Park, of people who have the highest energy bills to pay? Can we do something differently? And is this an opportunity to do something differently, especially because everybody this is just anecdotal, but when I'm talking to people in Sharswood and Brewerytown, people are skeptical at best and strongly opposed otherwise to data centers and what feels like big tech imposing something on us when our lives are already overwhelming and too full and unaffordable. So it makes me wonder, what are the opportunities too of this city in terms of its connection to the public, of being like, no, we are going to make sure people remember this is our city and we don't just have to do whatever these big corporations come in and try to impose on our community. So I really would echo what people have mentioned about, let's get a moratorium on this. This is our turf. This is Philly. And let's make sure that we have the time to do what's necessary to make sure we don't worsen the climate crisis and affordability in our city. So thanks for this presentation and considering this.
Thank you, Patrick. Anybody else want to approach him? Please, if you plan to approach, feel free to come up as folks are talking.
Hi, my name's Leah Friedman. I'm an independent researcher and I'm part of the Philly Tech Justice Collective. I just had actually two brief questions for the presentation, which was already quite thorough. One of them was, you mentioned that 2 parcels of land were identified for hyperscale data center development, and I'm curious if you can speak more to which 2 parcels those were. And I'm also curious if you could speak a little bit more to the defining work that you're doing and the agencies that you're working with in order to do that definitional work around data centers right now. Thank you.
So I'm assuming that, please, yeah.
We were prepared to answer the question about the parcel, so I have some slides. I just need to you got it? Okay. Excuse
Thank
me.
you.
So there are 2. The first is 2600 Grant Avenue. This is in the northeast, right by the airport. It's actually owned by the city. So I'll just come up. Then the corner is a Wawa, but it's a large parcel extending like down on the screen. That's part of the airport function. And then the next one is 3143 West Passyunk Avenue, but it's in the floodplain. And then you had part of it, the parcel, yeah. And then your other question was about other agencies. So far we've worked with Commerce and Sustainability, but as it goes forward, we'll also be working with other agencies, including Water and PICO.
I just wanted to add that we've identified 2 spaces where they could go, meaning we have enough space, they're large enough, but these are not necessarily places that we are recommending that they go. We're not in the place where we're making recommendations for location. We're trying to understand the degree to which our city could be accommodating to them, like could be attractive to organizations that are looking to put in data centers, and really just trying to be able to have maybe not the right word, but a bit of a defensive posture so we know what we might see in the city.
Feel free to sign in. And Leah, I'm sorry, did you sign in? Thank you.
Is it green? Yeah, I think I can speak. My name is Marge Gutierrez. I want to say specifically about what you just mentioned, that there needs to be a process, a community process that involves community, because this is going to affect us, right? And so if the city is to be responsive and democratic, as it states, then there's got to be more engagement with the community. And in order to catch up to all of this boom, then there needs to be a pause, and that pause looks like a moratorium. Like that is the next step, so we can like take a minute, think about what the repercussions are, ask the community what they actually are looking for, because my electric bill was $700 this winter. That was my electric bill. And when you talk to people, that is a common occurrence right now. And so what does it look like for our utilities to even go higher? Like, this is not what people are looking for. This is not what people are asking. And so if the city is to be responsive to the people, which is what they're supposed to be doing, then a moratorium is the actual next step.
Marge, thank you. Did you sign in?
Yes.
Thank you so much. All right, seeing no more commentary in the flesh, do we have anybody online?
Chair, we have 13 hands raised online.
All right, let's start from the top of the list, sir.
One at a time, I'm going to call them to be promoted. Rhiannon Ball, once more. Please unmute and direct your comments to the commission.
Hello, good afternoon again. Rhiannon Ball speaking here. We must define data centers as a distinct use. This is not something that can fall under our existing industrial definition. But the regulations must be based on actual impact, not square footage. Let's not fool ourselves. Square footage measures the building, but not the burden. Philadelphia should classify facilities by megawatt demand, water use, generators, emissions, heat, noise, while counting the entire campus and all so-called accessory infrastructure, such as the truck-sized diesel generators that accompany each site. The presentation repeatedly says these facilities use lots of land, water, and power. Lots is not a planning metric. This isn't an insult to Amy's presentation. The point is, we actually have no idea. Applicants should disclose exact resource demands, required utility upgrades, permanent jobs, and who will pay. Residents must never subsidize private infrastructure through higher PICO and water rates. Staff found only 2 suitable parcels for these hyperscale data centers. Before we even consider using our scarce industrial land, council should compare the project's public benefit per acre and per megawatt against other uses as presented. Data centers employ only 13% of the people a traditional warehouse employs per this presentation. Today's discussion showed that even some decision makers are unaware of existing data centers that already operate here. Philadelphia needs a complete public inventory and enforceable rules before any projects related to this proceed. A silver lining to this issue is that it will unite the city residents against data centers in the same way we united against the Sixers arena. And if the commission, the planning commission, city council, and mayor do not work on behalf of the people they serve, they will once again be met with resistance and ultimately embarrassment that will define their careers. We must put a moratorium on further data center discussion now until we actually know more. Thank you.
Thank you, Rihanna. Who do we have next, Mike?
M. Bennett, please unmute yourself and direct your comments to the commissioners.
Hello, my name is M. Bennett. I am a resident and community organizer in Point Breeze, a neighborhood that borders one of the parcels just identified on this call. I want to start by echoing my neighbors in Grace Ferry on every point they made. I am speaking against any involvement of the city of Philadelphia with data centers and urging the commission to elect a moratorium. I would like to start by saying that comparing environmentally and fiscally unsound, predatory, and harmful data centers to public art is something I think we need to reflect on. I think that it is clinically false comparison and intentionally distracts the public's perception from the realities it will face if we proceed. I find it quite apt that we cover this topic the day after our mayor maintains our connection to environmentally harmful trash burning practices that pollute our air. As this morning, Philadelphians woke up to code red air quality alerts from wildfires to our north. Less than a week after destructive storms ripped precious trees from our earth, destroying the homes of our neighbors. I'm disappointed in the presentation of this as a foregone conclusion. It should not be a matter of what size the data center we are is going to build. It should not even be a matter of entertaining additional data centers. We are seeing the effects of our disregard for the environment quite literally as we speak. Why are we even considering building facilities as part of a smash and grab capitalist scheme that will not only burden our water and electricity systems, but continue to hurt our environment, which in turn impacts our most vulnerable? I'm extremely disturbed by the exclusion of public opinion in this presentation. Why are we moving from one critically underserved section of the city to the other with these schemes? Why does it matter that they are already around us? When are we going to become a city that acts in the interests of its citizens and not billionaires? I am also extremely disappointed that this was not a widely advertised to the public for comment event. That is, I'll cede my time.
Much.
Next we have Sarah Bayer. Sarah, please unmute yourself and direct your comments to the commissioners.
It's shaking.
Is there somebody still unmuted that should be muted?
Hi, thank you. My name is Sarah Bayer, and I'm a Philadelphia resident. I'm also a committee person in Ward 25, which is located in Port Richmond. I just want to thank the commission and the staff for the detailed presentation today. I really did appreciate the amount of information that was covered. And I also want to thank everyone else who took time out of their day to be here in person or to tune in virtually. That kind of turnout matters, especially on short notice. I will quickly echo what a lot of other people said. I do not feel that enough notice was given for the public to participate in this meeting. I know that this is just a starting point. It's just a starting point for discussing data centers, but I do feel that it's important to engage residents of the city early in matters such as this. Given how thorough the presentation was, I was surprised that the two parcels of land under consideration were not included in it directly. I know they were on slides, but they were not presented. It was surprising that that had to be drawn out through a question from the audience. In fact, it was one of the questions that I was going to ask. Given the scale of impact that we're discussing, I would expect that site-specific information like that would be part of the presentation itself, or just something that the commission would be a little more transparent about. And finally, I'd like to just point to Councilmember Landau's resolution, which already lays out the right questions that we need to be asking, which is about energy strain, water demand, and workforce impact, environmental effects, and the equity of where we would be placing sites such as this. Given that Philadelphia's 8 existing data centers are currently cited under L&I research and development classification with no dedicated zoning framework, and given that most of the local economic benefit from these facilities would come during construction and not after, I think that these questions matter even more. Ultimately, this comes back to transparency. The public needs to be able to weigh in on siting, zoning, or equity if basic information, like where these parcels are, whether they fall in areas the DVRPC flags as frontline or historically underserved. This information needs to be shared up front. So I would ask the commission to make full transparency the standard moving forward. And thank you for your time.
And we thank you for yours as well. Thank you for the feedback.
Chair, next we have Eric Balaban. Please unmute yourself and direct your comments to the commission.
Hello, Eric.
Hi, good afternoon. Am I coming through okay?
You certainly are.
I really appreciate the time to comment on this issue. My name is Eric Balaban. I am a pulmonologist, a lung doctor in training here in Philadelphia, and I have formal education in climate change as it pertains to public health risks. I wanted to make clear a domain of concern that I don't think got a lot of attention during this presentation, which was the deleterious health impacts that I think we can expect from the AI data centers, particularly of the scale that's being described. The carbon footprint of these data centers are Herculean. They use natural gas powered turbines and diesel engines as backup. And the degree of green energy that they use, at least currently, is really greenwashing by any standard. The nitric oxide and the volatile organic compounds that come as the exhaust of this power use is, it's related to cancer, asthmas, early mortalities. There's also the sound pollution, which I think is an important consideration that can reach 90 to 100 decibels. That is a constant humming that can span even miles from these data centers. Um, I see nothing but concerning impacts when it comes to health and economy, when it comes to shouldering the burden of housing an AI data center. And I don't see a lot of benefit for Philadelphia citizens. I offer my just full-throated support for a moratorium, if not just a downvote on continuing this course of action until the technology of AI data centers catches up and becomes beneficial to Philadelphia, because Philadelphians deserve at least that much, let alone my patients or anyone who's vulnerable to the topic. I appreciate your time.
And thank you for yours.
Chair, next up we have Rebecca. Rebecca, please unmute yourself and direct your questions to the commission.
Hi, Rebecca. Are you with us?
Hi, can you hear me okay?
We do.
Hi, my name is Rebecca Balanson. In addition to being a resident of Philadelphia and a member of Philly Thrive, I work as an environmental health scientist where I research public health risks from environmental pollution. I really want to second all of the points that Eric just brought up in the previous comment, and I wanted to speak to some additional health impacts of data centers. So in the presentation, you discussed impacts on local residents, including light and noise pollution, which I really appreciated. I wanted to bring up the air quality problems that Eric also mentioned. These data centers often rely on backup diesel generators or co-located natural gas power plants, which release harmful air pollutants in communities that are already overburdened by air pollution and which can also affect the whole city. And even if these sites were to use renewable power, which as have been previously brought up, there are a lot of challenges to that. Data centers require incredibly reliable and consistent power, which is really not feasible with solar and wind. And so they always have these backup generation from diesel, which, like I said, is particularly harmful. I also wanted to just briefly expand on the issues with noise and light pollution, because I think sometimes that when we bring up constant humming or vibration, it might sound like a minor inconvenience, but there's actually a lot of research showing that chronic exposure to this kind of constant noise can cause serious long-term health problems, including cardiovascular risks that arise from chronic sleep deprivation and chronic stress caused by this noise. I also wanted to bring up that data centers have been shown to make urban heat islands worse, causing extreme heat in the neighborhoods, which come with very many health risks itself. So given all of this, I encourage you to work with the Department of Public Health and also the Environmental Justice Program within the Office of Sustainability as you continue to do your research, as well as to take up the offers that previous speakers have made to share resources. And finally, I just wanted to speak to one of the commissioner's comments on the former oil refinery site, which is now being redeveloped as the Bellwether District. I think there was a comment that the soil at that site is contaminated and therefore sort of nothing else useful can be put there. But that's really not true. Even though that site has constraints and is zoned industrial, there are many types of development that would benefit the community. There could be industrial development that provides good long-term stable jobs as opposed to temporary construction jobs. There are industrial or commercial facilities that pollute less. And most importantly, the community should have an input and transparency into what is going on to that site. So I really appreciate the research that the Planning Commission is putting into this, and I strongly encourage you to pursue a moratorium on data center development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up on the list, we have Richard. Richard, please unmute yourself and direct your comments to the commissioners.
Hello, Richard.
Hey, and can you guys hear me?
We do, yes.
Oh, great. Okay. Hi, I'm Richard Chu, a resident of the Vernon House neighborhood, and I wanted to thank you guys for holding this town meeting. An additional consideration I want to bring up that wasn't highlighted today is when it comes to building hyperscale data centers in Philly is whether the financial apparatus that is supporting the current data center build out throughout the country and I guess throughout the world will still be around in the coming years, giving growing concern that the build out is being financed through debt vehicles that are drying up currently due to concerns around the economic viability of generative AI. As someone who's worried that the current data center build out is being financed through a speculative bubble that will collapse in the coming months or years, I just wanted to make sure that the financial viability of the surrounding industry is taken into account when deliberating potential hyperscale data center projects. Again, I wanted to also just thank you guys for your time and then also for that fantastic Planning Commission presentation on data centers and how it relates to Philadelphia. And I see my time and thank you again.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Oya Zhugayevich. Oya, please unmute yourself and direct your comments to the commissioners.
Oya, welcome.
Hi, can everyone hear me all right?
Are you fine?
Hi, so my name is Olya Zagayevich. I am a civil and environmental engineer. I was born in the Northeast, lived in North Philly, and now I currently live in the Northwest. I want us to reflect on today of all days that we have a code red air pollution, air quality issue. Last week we had several microbursts that destroyed cars and trees, and then 2 weeks prior we've had elderly and vulnerable folks collapsing on the tree due to climate change, anthropogenic climate change induced heat waves. I myself ended up in the emergency room with everything going on. I think it's very clear that we have that there are numerous studies show that data centers, especially fossil fuel powered ones, negatively impact our public utilities, and just general quality of life. I think that before any developer even proposes building a data center or retrofitting an existing one, because I know those exist in the city must hold a well promoted, emphasis on well promoted. This meeting was not well promoted, a well promoted community meeting open to everyone, and the developer must attend. Additionally, the city of Philadelphia must pass regulations that, for instance, require data centers developers to get their sources of electricity from fossil fuel sources. I think, I'm echoing a lot of what other people have been saying, but I think it's really clear that there are other projects that this commission and that this group can focus on. There are other ideas, other development ideas that would far better improve, residents' quality of life, without having as many negative impacts as data centers. Someone on the chair had brought up the former oil refinery. Why build a data center that wouldn't even put money in the pockets of Philadelphians, when we could instead consider other developments? We could consider maybe implementing a solar field, right? I think there's so many amazing ideas of what we could use with the space that we have. Maybe we could build hospitals, build housing. So I really encourage you to pass a moratorium on data centers and to really listen to the community and connect with everyone here. Thank you, and I cede my time.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the commentary and feedback.
Next, we have Mitch Channon. Mitch, please unmute yourself and direct your comments to the commissioners.
Hey, Mitch, welcome.
Hi, thanks. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Great. My name is Mitch Channon. I am a resident of Northeast Philly. I'm a Democratic committee person in Ward 58. I'm a member of 2 and 5 People's Alliance, which organizes here in the Northeast. Most of what I was going to share has already been said, so I don't want to be too repetitious. I want to just call attention to a couple of things for emphasis and add just a couple of quick things. So I agree with everything that's been said about the incompatibility of hyperscale data center development with climate justice, with protecting affordability of energy, protecting clean air, et cetera. I agree that we need a separate zoning category for hyperscale data centers for those reasons because of the unique impacts that they have. I wanted to say also that lifting up what a previous commenter said about the sort of speculative nature of data center development. There are trillions of dollars slated for investment in these kinds of facilities with no real prospect for investors making their money back. And I think there's a real risk that communities that host these kinds of hyperscale data centers will find that they just have hulking empty buildings and that we have wasted years that we could have spent promoting healthy development on those sites. It does appear to me that there is a pretty serious speculative investment bubble that the tech industry keeps inflating. And for that reason, additionally, I think we should consider this as a separate category for zoning purposes and to consider the long-term viability of those land uses, given how speculative the investment is. Two other quick things I wanted to add are that I did not hear any discussion today of the proposal or basically I read last year that Ryan Boyer, the head of our Building Trades Council, has been talking about his desire to see a gas-fired power plant built at the Bellwether District to power a potential data center there. And any plans for co-location of a data center with large-scale fossil fuel power plant, I think also needs to be considered in the development of zoning categories here. And I completely reject any development of any new fossil fuel power plants in Philadelphia in order to protect people from toxic air pollution and a livable climate. And lastly, as a resident of Northeast Philly, I think this is the first I've ever heard of any prospect for redevelopment of 2600 Grant Avenue any idea that that city-owned land would be used for anything at all. And I really believe that the Planning Commission should have a publicly driven, fully engaged, robust public conversation here in the Northeast about the future of that site. Especially if there's any prospect for it being used for a large-scale data center, we should be talking about what we would actually want to be built on that publicly owned land in our neighborhood. Thanks so much.
Thank you. And a point of clarity from Director Howell.
Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize, we are not currently considering that site. We have not been asked to consider that site. It's not a site that's being considered for data centers. We were strictly looking at industrial land that is of a size that could be attractive for that, not to the city, but to someone who's looking at Philadelphia and curious about data centers. So there is no proposal that this research is responding to. This is really recognizing that across the country, across the nation, data centers are a topic of concern. They are being created in many places across the city. This is our attempt to be prepared, that we are understanding and providing a forum for the commissioners to consider what's on the table, for us to think about what we can do as a commission to be prepared in thinking about things like a definition that doesn't currently exist and things of that nature. So no proposal for any, certainly not any city-owned land is on the table right now.
Thank you, Director.
Chair, next up we have Maggie Foster. Maggie, please unmute yourself and direct your comments to the commissioners.
Good afternoon, Maggie.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
I just wanted to reiterate the opposition. My name's Maggie. I live in Grace Ferry. I'm a mother, and it's my child's second birthday tomorrow, and I can't even take her outside because the air is poisoned. We don't need to do anything that is going to make climate change worse. I don't want that for my kid. I don't want that for my neighbors. We need to put a moratorium on this. We can't let data centers come to our communities. So that's all I wanted to say. Thanks.
Thank you.
Chair, next up we have Carol Foy. Carol, please unmute yourself and direct your comments to the commissioners.
Caller, are you with us?
Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, oh, hello, how you doing? You call Carol Foy?
Carol Floyd, that's you, right?
Yeah, that's me, yeah.
Your floor is open for you.
Yeah, hello, how you doing there? My name is Carol Foy, and I'm a member of Philly Thrive, and I have been a member of Philadelphia for years, and I'm along with everybody that just spoke, like Mitch Shannon, Shamar, Pitt, Janet White, and I'm against data center in Philadelphia too. And I don't think we need no data center in Philadelphia. The data center will cause so much harm to people that's sick. Like me, myself, and my friend Debbie, she's trying to come on soon. If it would cause so much harm to the people in the city, just like we had shut down a refinery in 2019 because it was all harm to our health and stuff like that. And I'm looking for the road from the health center, and I'm a little too far up Grace Ferry, where the data center, where the wells where they were trying to put up there, where they trying to put that thing up there. I don't think we don't need no data center in Philadelphia, because data center would be harm to a lot of people, a lot of health people and stuff like that. Yeah, and to the air quality too, like that. And I think that I agree with everybody. What everybody said too about the data centers, and everybody that spoke. I know that spoke so far, like that. And I agree that we should not have no data center. If they're gonna have one, they should be moved far away from the city, maybe out somewhere in the country, somewhere they could put data centers at there, but not nowhere in the city, like 3701 Market Street. My son was going to plant there, and then they were talking about putting it at the Navy Yard. I don't think it should be nowhere. I think it should be just left alone, and put it somewhere else. Like we just put the refinery, you just sit the fire down because we had a right to breathe health like they did. And these data sick could cause cancer, a lot of a lot of health problems to people, stuff like that. And I think that we don't really need a data set. Maybe we could put it somewhere else. We do have to have it, maybe it could be somewhere else like out in an empty space. Just like here, people live here in Philadelphia and all of them little leaders say, no days so they can find somewhere to put it like an empty space for nobody at. But really, I disagree on data centers. And thank you for letting me speak.
Appreciate your feedback. Thank you, Carol.
You're welcome.
Chair, next up we have Walter. Walter, please unmute yourself and direct your comments to the commissioners.
Hello, Walter.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Walter, a Grace Ferry resident, a mutual aid organizer, and a school district teacher. I don't want to take too much time considering I'll just be echoing what everyone else said, and if that doesn't make this issue obvious enough, I don't know what will. There is no need to have a data center in Philly. We have already had 2 heat waves this summer, and we aren't even halfway through the summer. That doesn't even touch on the air quality and microburst issues that other people have talked about. The PA budget passed last week, and to echo a previous point, it states that data centers must describe the amount of water and electricity that will be used, yet all that was described here in this presentation was lots. What does that mean? I hope that gets changed in future presentations. Furthermore, why are these meetings typically hidden? Why are these meetings also always at 1 p.m. when people are at work or kids are at school? It feels as if this is intentional as a way to slide information by without the majority of people being able to attend. That said, I'm very glad and proud of those who are able to find time to come out today to speak. If city council members are curious as to why many of them are facing competition during next year's election cycle, it is because the community doesn't trust them to stand up to billionaires after the nonsense they pull with the 76ers arena, the fight with DC 33, and so many other times they sided with billionaires over the community. There should be a moratorium placed on data centers immediately, and if it was ever put forth, it should be a ballot measure voted on directly by the people to see how blasphemous this idea is. If you want people like myself to have children, you'll deny any data centers in Philly, or your birth rate in the city will plummet since those people, myself included, will either not be having kids or leaving the city due to the climate injustices that will come forth. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Chair, next up we have Oliver Presson. Oliver, please unmute yourself. And
Oliver, welcome.
Thank you to the commission as well as everybody who showed up today out from the community to voice their opinions and why it's so important to have so many members here from the community speaking on behalf of just regular everyday people. That's kind of where my comments will be focused. I don't have a lot of research into the points that I will be talking about, but I do have feelings that I know are shared with my community members, my neighbors. I live in the Brewerytown area, and people across the city who might not have the exact logistical knowledge of how these things go into place, but will definitely resonate with what I'm about to say. It's really important that we consider who we are prioritizing in the city. Are we prioritizing people or are we prioritizing profit? It seems to me that there is at least one member on the commission right now, Patrick Eating, who is president emeritus of the AFL-CIO. So he would probably say, I can't speak for him, but would probably say that he's advocating for the people of his union. However, it's really important to consider the long-term lasting effects that the people in those unions' families will be affected by if this data center goes into place over the long term. And it is frankly shameful that the corruption is so blatant that we have somebody on the commission that is calling AI data centers critical infrastructure when there are so many other things that need to be addressed. It's probably implicit in my comments, but I believe in a moratorium of data centers in Philadelphia. And then I think these points are going to be spread throughout the city in neighborhoods with people that aren't able to make these meetings in the way that we are. Um, the we live in a time where many people that are discussing the possibility of the data center are not living in the reality of the day-to-day life of those in the community. And it's really a time to create change and progress for the welfare of all instead of corporations and billionaires, or simply retire from office, be impeached from office, or otherwise resign because we do not need your leadership. We need bold, new, drastic leadership that will change the momentum of the city. Thank you. I see my time.
Thank you.
Chair. Next up, we have Annette. Annette, please unmute yourself and direct your comments to the commissioners.
Good afternoon, Annette.
Good afternoon. My name is Annette. I'm formerly from the Grace Ferry area, but I live in Frankfurt now. And I am a Philly Thrive member. And I don't think we need a data center. And we should be building more communities. Um, so that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Annette.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, everybody else?
Chair, we have one more hand. Sally, please unmute yourself and direct your comments to the commissioners.
Or was that Sally? Sally, welcome. Sally, you're on?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Hi. Thank you for my time. I'll be really quick because I do echo what everyone has brought up today. I am a resident of Port Richmond. I grew up in Philly in the Northwest region. I'm also a social worker for over a decade. I work with children, families, adults across the lifespan. And I just wanted to kind of share just various conversations I've had recently with different clients of mine, individuals that come see me, and just echo a lot what's been said, and the harsh impact of like what we're going through with the economy today with the high rates, and having data centers will just not be beneficial at all. And I speak for all of them, and I also have a huge network of friends in various parts of the city. And I have alerted them, if just asked them if they even knew this meeting was going on today. They had no clue about it. No, I have certain friends in Point Breeze and Grays Ferry area that they do not even know about the land that's being proposed. Um, so I just want to reiterate my opposition for any data center coming to our city, let alone our country. I think we have more immediate things in Philadelphia to focus on, including food insecurity, affordable housing, utilities, all of the social determinants of health for everybody. Um, and so it's just, it pains me to see that this is even like happening. I didn't even know we had the smaller data centers in Philly, but um, I just want to reiterate that I am fully against this, and I'm certainly aware that all of my clients are also as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, we have one more hand raised. Rebecca, please unmute yourself and direct your comments to the commissioners.
Hi, I spoke earlier, but I'm actually just raised my hand because I'm in contact with Miss Debbie Robinson, who I think is also on the call and would like to speak, but was having trouble finding the raise hand button. I'm wondering if you're able to unmute her directly.
Thank you, Rebecca. We'll try to unmute. I'm sorry, Debbie Robinson is the name I heard.
Yes, her Zoom may just be Debbie.
Appreciate that. We are elevating her now.
All right, thank you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Hello, everyone. How's everyone today? My name is Debbie Robinson, and I'm a member of Philly Thrive. We fight environmental things that's not right for our community, like the refinery that we closed down and affordable housing and everything. But this data center that's being put up, I was clapping my hands when the doctor had spoke because I'm on oxygen 24 hours a day. I have in-home tank and an out-home tank. I have lung disease, kidney disease, and liver disease, and I feel like this refinery that they have that they're putting in our community is not beneficial for people that have health problems. It's just not right. I mean, we make the city happen. If it wasn't for the people in the city, wouldn't be no city. And they're putting stuff like that, data centers, and the communities, small communities, every little big lot that they see, they feel like money speaks, and they buy it and put data centers in there, and it makes people electric high. It's just not right. And we speaking up because this is our community, and we feel as though we should be listened to because we have to live in here amongst all of these data centers that's messing up the environment for one. It's hurting people with health problems, and it's hurting people that's trying to pay their water bill, the power bill. It's just not right. And I feel as though, I'm one of the people that's speaking for all the other people that's, suffering and everything, especially people with health problems. I'm in a wheelchair, and I feel as though, we don't need a data center. And I love Philly Thrive because we're environmental. We fight for the rights of the people, all colors, all nationalities, and stuff like that. And I feel like people that got money, they think they can just come in the community and just buy up land for data centers instead of putting something that's going to be beneficial to the community that makes the city grow. And I feel as though we don't need no data center. And that's what I wanted to speak about. And thank you for allowing me to come in because I kept hitting my hand and it kept not raising up. So I appreciate your time. I appreciate y'all coming here and letting us speak. And I also feel like this shouldn't be a one-time thing. Y'all should have more meetings so we can come in, voice our opinion, and give our opinion on what we feel as though is right for our communities. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you, Debbie.
No more hands raised, Chair.
All right. Well, with that said, just want to open up one last time, commissioners, or any more Q&A, any comments? Okay. I don't have the answer to that question.
I'm not sure specifically. My research said that the actual equipment has a 3 to 4 year lifespan. The cooling systems have a 10-year, and then the buildings are longer. Maybe they're just, I don't want to hypothesize. I'm not sure.
I have a question. So
Commissioner.
we obviously cannot enforce a moratorium, but what are the steps if we wanted to recommend that?
I think that this feedback, this presentation, collectively should be able to inform some folks. But I do believe that is that's the onus of the city to be able to present something like that. I am not clear on exact steps. I would imagine they're very legislative. But I think that when it comes to that particular point in the process, depending on what the outcome of, or what the preferred outcome is, or whatever objective we're trying to get to, whether that be a moratorium or not, I believe that this process, yeah. All right. Well, seeing nothing else, I believe we are at the end of our agenda today. I do appreciate everyone's time and effort going into what we've discussed here today. Looks like we do have one last slide that's going to just present when our next set of meetings is. So these are the next two Planning Commission meetings, monthly basis, as we know. August 20th of next month, and also September 17th, which are both 1 p.m. sessions. All right, with that said, we're at the end of the agenda. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
All right, all in favor? We have a proper second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, thank you everybody for coming out today.